In this video, we're going to take a look at the selection tools that are available in Pixlr. So to begin, I'm going to create a new image, and I'll go ahead and just go with the defaults, an 800 by 600 untitled image. Click OK, and here's my image. So the first thing that I'll do is to open an image to bring into my untitled document. So I'll click Open Image, and I'll choose this rock. Click Open, and here's my image. So what I want to do first off is to drag this image into my untitled document. So to do that, I'm going to click on the background layer of the rock and drag it on top of the untitled document and let go. And perfect, there it is. So I can get rid of my original, and I'm going to select my Move tool, and you can see that this image is just too big. I need to resize this. So I can position it so that I can see the corner, because that's what I'll use to grab onto to make it smaller. And I'll go up to Edit, Free Transform, and I'm going to grab this corner. So I'm going to hover over the corner, and you'll see that the cursor changes to those arrows. I'll hold my Shift key down, click and hold, and make it smaller. Reposition it. Okay, I think I can go just a little smaller, so I'll go back to the corner, hold my Shift key, click, drag in just a little bit more, and let go of everything, and that looks good. So to commit to this, I'll hit Enter on my keyboard, and there I have it. I've got my rock. So now the first thing I think I'll do is name this layer. I'm going to double click on it and call it Rock. Okay, so now I have a layer with the rock on it. And what I'm going to do, and this is a smart thing to do when you're working with layers, is to make a copy of this layer. So that way there, if I make a mistake, I could just always go back to the original version that I started with. To do that, I can click and hold on this layer that says rock, and I'm going to drag it on top of the Create New Layer icon and then let go. And it automatically made a new layer for me. And at this point, I'm going to get rid of this history palette because I'm really not going to need it right now. So I'll click X out of that and drag my layers palette open slightly. Okay, so the selection tools are found in the upper portion of the toolbar, and there's three of them. There's the Marquee tool, Lasso tool, and the Wand tool. To begin with, we'll start with the Marquee tool. Now I'll click to select that, and you'll see that in the options bar I have a few options. I have the rectangular Marquee tool. Next to that is the elliptical Marquee tool, and I can adjust the feathering. And I also have the anti-alias checkbox. And this is basically used to smooth the edges. You want to leave this checked, or else you end up with the jaggies. You'll see the pixels. So we'll leave that selected, and we'll leave the feathering at this point to 0. And let's choose the rectangular Marquee tool. Now if I move on to my screen here, into my document, I'll click and hold and drag, and you can see that it will enable me to make a selection that is rectangular in shape. So I'll select this, and at this point I could do really two things. I could cut this or delete it from this layer. So to show you that, let me turn off this rock layer that's underneath the layer I'm working on, and then I'll hit delete on my keyboard, and you can see that now there's a hole in my top rock layer. I'll undo that. Or another option is I can copy this. So with this selection selected, I can go up to Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste, and you can see that if I turn this off, it's pasted in the rectangular shape that I copied. I'm going to go ahead and delete that layer by right-clicking on it, delete layer, and turn back on my rock copy. Okay, so the next option is the elliptical Marquee tool. So if I select that, I can go ahead and click and drag, and you'll see that it will create an oval. Okay, and I have basically the same options. I can hit delete, and it will delete that shape. Okay, I'm going to hit Control D on my keyboard, and I'm just going to show you quickly about feathering. If you want a nice soft edge, you can increase the feathering. So what I'm going to do is increase the feathering, say to 50, and make that same selection using the elliptical marquee tool. And what I could do is copy that by going Edit, Copy, Edit, Paste. Creates this new layer, and I'll turn off the layer underneath, and you can see how I get this nice soft edge. And it's basically taking 50 pixels that blends from the image to the background. Okay, I'll undo that. Okay, and the next tool would be the Lasso tool, and again we've got a few options up here. Right now the default is the freehand Lasso tool. And with this, you click and you hold, and you can move around your mouse or your trackpad and then let go, and you can see that it's created this freehand type shape. This is very useful if you're using a drawing tablet. Not so useful with the mouse because it's a little hard to control. But if you are using a mouse, you could use the polygonal lasso tool, which is over to the right. And the way that works is you click and then you move, and you'll see how it's connected. So you're going to click, click, and move your mouse, and basically what happens is this tool, your selection, will follow along with your mouse. And then you can click twice, and then you have your selection. Okay, so if I hit Control C, Control V, you can see that it's made a selection. Okay, right click, I'll delete that layer. So our third selection option would be the wand tool. Now this actually was the perfect tool for selecting this sky. If we wanted to do something to this sky, either delete it or change it in any way, using the wand tool would be the perfect selection tool for us. So what I'll do is I'll click up here in the blue, and you can see that it's not really reaching from this dark blue to this light blue. And the way I can adjust that is by dealing with this tolerance setting. And you can see that if I use this bar here, I can go from 255 to 0 for a tolerance setting. So if that default is 21, let's try maybe 36 and see what happens. So I'll click Control D to deselect that selection, and I'll click again. And you can see that it really is still not making the entire selection. If you look in the upper left here, you can see that the darker blue is not being picked up. So let's actually change this to say 50. And then I'll hit Control D to deselect again and click in the blue. And now that is perfect. You can see that it has selected the entire sky. Okay? So like we've done with the other selection tools, one thing I could do is just hit delete on my keyboard, and it will delete the entire sky. Okay? I'll hit undo. But the other thing we could do, which is kind of neat, is we can go up and we could say choose brightness and contrast. And I'll move this out of the way so you could see. We can adjust this selection. Now one thing I could do is say decrease the brightness or increase the brightness. You can hit cancel, or I could even change the color. If I went to hue and saturation, if I adjust the hue slider here, you can see that I can actually change the color of the sky. I'll hit cancel. One really neat thing we could do is totally replace the sky. And the way we could do that is I'm going to go ahead and hit delete on my keyboard to delete that sky, and you can see that it's no longer there. And what I can do is open a new image, File, Open Image, and this time I'm going to choose the clouds. Open. And again, to bring these clouds into my new image, I'm going to click on this clouds background layer, hold, drag it on top, and I'll close the original. And now you can see that I've got the clouds inside my untitled document. I'll hit Control D to deselect that, use my move tool, and move it around. Now right now it's on top, okay, but that's okay for now. I'll move it after. To begin with, let me make it a little bigger because it's not quite filling my screen. So to do that, I'll go up to Edit, Free Transform, And hold my shift key down, click, hold, make it bigger. Okay, perfect. Hit enter on my keyboard, and now you can see that it's on top. So all I need to do at this point is click and hold and drag that underneath my rock copy layer, and there it is. Now I've got this great sky behind my rocks. And those are just some of the things that you could do with the selection tools.